Pale and the others continued their successful monster hunting spree, engaging in discussions about recent game updates and the intriguing Necromancer class. They wondered when Weed would join them. Meanwhile, Pale contacted Mapan, who was stunned by the ongoing massive battle. Hyun, observing the chaos from the castle walls, noticed the Banshee's curses wreaking havoc on his troops. To counter this, he directed the priests to use blessings to dispel the curses. However, some orcs, affected by the curses, turned on their allies. In response, Hyun ordered a halt to their movements, realizing that orcs fighting each other were not benefiting from the blessing effect. As the orcs restrained those affected by evil spirits, dark elves unleashed magic attacks to eliminate banshees. Hyun ordered a strategic retreat, preserving troops and trump cards for the impending final boss. Skeleton knights, giants, and witches emerged, surrounding the Lich Shire. Hyun, eyeing the Lich's potential loot, prepared for the decisive assault. The Lich commanded an attack, and the undead army charged toward the castle, countered by silver arrows from the dark elves. The wyverns entered the fray, soldiers riding them and dropping holy water from the prepared holy grail to combat the undead. Dark elves and necromancers buffed the orcs, increasing their power. In the violent clash, a witch targeted the castle walls, resisting the dark elves' arrows. Hyun ordered the dark elves to use magic to summon trees that entangled the witches and their mounts. He signaled other players to attack. Despite efforts, surviving witches began reanimating dead orcs. Hyun commanded to ignore the undead and prioritize the main clan of the undead. Hyun called upon Van Hawk and Torito, instructing them to join the battle. Although Torito initially hesitated, Hyun's tender loving care persuaded him to charge alongside Van Hawk with the vampire army. Torito showcased his strength by effortlessly defeating a giant and obliterating a group of undead, using curses to petrify the witches while Van Hawk finished them off. Observing Torito's mana depletion, Hyun, inspired by Mapan, formulated an idea to address the situation. Hyun, reaching out to Mapan, offered him a better view of the ongoing war. Initially suspicious of Weed's intentions, Mapan was assured it was free but dangerous. Agreeing, he was swiftly picked up by a wyvern and dropped into the midst of the battle next to Torito. Mapan marveled at the spectacle, even considering the risk of death worth the experience. Hyun, addressing Torito, instructed him to savor Mapan and ensure his protection. Confused, Mapan understood Hyun's intentions when Torito bit him. Torito, while acknowledging the urgency of the situation, remarked on the less than pleasant taste of Mapan's blood, but he had to do it to regain health and mana. Hyun received news from the Orc Elder about the depletion of silver arrows, regretting the financial loss. To adapt, he instructed the use of fire arrows, setting ablaze nearby areas. Meanwhile, Soo-hyun, observing the chaotic war from a distance, opted to depart. A giant breached the castle walls, causing significant damage and consuming some orcs. Dark elves retaliated with magic, and the orcs, in response, pushed the walls to bury the giants. Hyun spurred into action, led the charge. As the Lich continued to reanimate corpses, Hyun issued orders to the Necromancers, stressing the need to destroy the corpses. Necromancers employed corpse explosion, while Dark Elves burned the corpses. They then focused their attacks on Lich Shire, with Van Hawk successfully dismantling its defenses. In response to the Lich's challenge for a 1v1 fight, Hyun dismissed the notion, preferring the strategic advantage of overwhelming numbers. In a fit of rage, Lich Shire unleashed a gravity field, immobilizing everyone, followed by explosive spells. Hyun quickly strategized, ordering wyverns to fly higher and continue pouring holy water to exploit the power of purity against the Lich. Torito and Van Hawk was instructed to disrupt and annoy, while Dark Elves unleashed powerful magic attacks. The coordinated assault began to crack the Lich's defenses, with Torito and Van Hawk making headway. However, they were forcefully repelled by a powerful spell from Lich Shire. In a desperate attempt to sway Torito and Van Hawk, Lich Shire reminded them of their loyalty to Barkhan. Van Hawk, resolute, declared allegiance to a new owner. Lich Shire suggested they could support Barkhan together to conquer the land. While Van Hawk rejected the idea outright, Torito hesitated, asking if Lich Shire would truly accept him despite past betrayal. Hyun is infuriated by Torito's contemplation. Hyun, recognizing the potential threat of Teredo switching sides, rushed forward. Teredo, recalling Hyun's past lethal actions, was terrified by Hyun's shout and decided to betray Lich Shire. He rallied everyone to attack the Shire, pretending to have considered supporting him. As the assault intensified, Shire's defenses crumbled, and he suffered significant damage. Van Hawk attempted an attack, but it was easily blocked. Hyun reappeared, unleashing Sword Kaiser on Shire, who survived despite the attack. Shire prepared another magic attack. Hyun, undeterred, ordered everyone to continue attacking, even at the risk of friendly fire. Hesitant, the Dark Elves followed the command, landing numerous spells on both Hyun and Shire. In the end, the formidable foe was defeated. Before dying, Hyun leveled up and secured valuable loot from the fallen Lich Shire. After logging off the game, Hyun expressed disappointment about not being able to see the dropped items. He pondered the fate of the quest but acknowledged that nothing could be done until the 24-hour restriction was lifted. Contemplating whether to rest, Hyun faced the reality of the temporary lack of access. Meanwhile, eager players awaited the release of the new video to witness the outcome of the war. While waiting, they decided to watch a video featuring the Crimson Wing Guild embarking on another A-ranked quest, adding to the anticipation and excitement within the gaming community. In a bid to boost viewership, the leader of the Crimson Wing Guild orchestrated a grand entrance, accompanied by dramatic dialogue. After placing the scorpion statue, a giant door opened, revealing a room filled with monsters that they easily defeated. Advancing further, they encountered a chamber brimming with treasures. Upon acquiring the quest item, the leaders succumbed to temptation and seized a unique item as well. However, their actions triggered the unexpected awakening of the giant scorpion statue. The statue condemned the guild for coveting the divine items of King Belsos, the Great Fire Emperor. It declared a fiery calamity upon them and summoned multiple fire monsters. The Crimson Wing leader was engulfed in flames, and the statue unleashed a curse of fire that threatened the entire world. After the catastrophic events caused by the Crimson Wing Guild, complaints about extreme heat flooded in, with many blaming the guild for the situation. Meanwhile, Hyun returned to Royal Road after completing the registration of items for sale on the trading site. Upon logging in, he was astonished by the transformations in the village of exiles, now bustling with activity. Cocoon greeted Hyun and shared the news of victory, stating that the Lich had been defeated. The enslaved citizens were liberated, leading to the town's growth. Cocoon mentioned a temporary peace, as the orcs, now searching for their hero Karichi, had ceased hostilities for the time being. Additionally, the Necromancers were eagerly awaiting Hyun's return, expressing their readiness to venture into the world. After the successful quest, Hyun felt relieved and decided to check his stats. He had gained 7 levels, attributing the significant experience boost to the defeat of Lich Shire. However, he noted a depreciation in various production skills, causing frustration as it amounted to a decrease of 2 to 3 levels. Turning his attention to the items obtained from Lich Shire, he identified a book among them. Upon appraisal, he discovered it to be the Necromancer's Grimoire, a highly valuable item for summoning and raising the undead. Hyun recognized its potential for fetching a substantial amount of money if sold. Examining the next item, the Saint's Cane, intended for clerics, Hyun expressed frustration, doubting its market value due to the weakness of clerics in combat. Despite the setback, he found solace in the expensive gem he acquired. Anticipating the quest reward for the quest, he contacted Mapan to inform him of his location. Mapan stated that he and the party members, including Pale's group, would soon join him. Pale's party was racing through the plains of despair to reach Hyun. Reflecting on the journey they were making to meet him, Hyun couldn't help but think that his life had been anything but ordinary. The prospect of reuniting with his companions heightened the sense of adventure and friendship. Circa's group, Zephyr, Weryong, and the Swordnibs arrived, joining Hyun. When Pale inquired about the quest, Hyun couldn't help but be reminded of the disappointing items dropped by Lich Shire. Zephyr and Weryong, sensing Hyun's disappointment, offered comforting words to lighten the mood. Hyun revealed his ability to transform into Karichi, amazing the girls. Determined to complete the quest, Hyun led the party toward the orc town, needing to report the quest's completion at the Dark Elves' castle. The orcs, cheering upon seeing their hero, questioned the presence of humans. Hyun explained they were former prisoners. As the group explored the orc town, Hyun met with the orc elder to conclude the quest. His level increased by 3, and as a reward, the elder presented him with a lump of metal. The orc elder explained that it was an ore found long ago, a part of the armor worn by those who came to suppress the orcs. Uncertain about its use, they stored it in the workshop, encouraging Hyun to take and utilize it as he wished. Initially disappointed, Hyun realized that the ore was, in fact, mithril. Recognizing the immense value of mithril, Hyun pondered its potential. Knowing that a significant amount of mithril was likely contained in the armor's materials, he decided to head to Rodium, the city of natural artists, to make the most of this valuable resource. In the gaming world, an announcement excited players as they learned that the orc race was now available to play in Royal Road. This news sparked cheers and enthusiasm among the game's community. Upon arriving at the Dark Elves' castle, Hyun was warmly welcomed by Becker and the soldiers. However, Hyun was informed that Dale had died in the battle. Hyun felt a sense of regret, and Pale and the others were surprised to witness his apparent soft side, even for an NPC comrade. Unbeknownst to them, Hyun's sorrow was more about the lost contribution points than a deep emotional connection. Hyun reflected on the need to compensate for the contribution points spent, emphasizing the importance of returning the Rosenheim Kingdom's soldiers safely. The loss of Dale, a commander of 100 men, weighed heavily on him, both in terms of the battle's outcome and the impact on his contribution points. Hyun bid farewell to Dale, recognizing the sacrifice made. Hyun met with the Necromancers, and Barabal commended his commanding abilities during the battle against the undead legion. Hyun downplayed his role, stating that what he did wasn't particularly exceptional. Internally, he acknowledged that the victory wasn't solely because of his efforts but a result of the investment made in the orcs and dark elves and their effective utilization. Barabal, nonetheless, expressed gratitude for Hyun's hard work, attributing the success in defeating the undead legion and putting Lich Shire into an eternal slumber to him. The completion of the quest significantly boosted Hyun's fame, level, and relationship level with the Necromancers. Surprised by the substantial increase of 17 levels at once, Hyun couldn't help but reflect on the levels lost during the creation of the Wyvern. Expecting more rewards, Hyun extended his hand, but Barabal regretfully informed him that they, as recluses, had no wealth or treasure. This disheartened Hyun, but Barabal offered comfort, and then presented him with a unique skill called the power to cheat death. Accepting it with surprise, Hyun checked the skill, discovering that it granted him the ability to revive as an undead after dying. Satisfied with the new skill, Barabal revealed a darker truth about the continent of Versailles. He spoke of the 12 sects of the Mbinu Church, hidden in the depths of darkness, dedicated to spreading evil and darkness. The 12th sect, Basurin, was particularly notorious, with fanatics causing chaos whenever night fell, and all castles and towns under their control. Although Hyun initially questioned the usefulness of this information, he couldn't dismiss its significance, given Barabal's intention to share it. Hyamin, exhausted from covering major events in Royal Road, found herself thinking about Hyun and the others traveling through the plains of despair. She expressed a desire to see Pale. Meanwhile, Juwon shared news about the Crimson Wing Guild's dissolution, after claiming responsibility for the sweltering heat affecting the continent. As the 10th-ranked guild in Versailles, its fall garnered attention. The guild's leader, Taros, and their greed took the blame, causing allied guilds to distance themselves. The psychological impact on the members was significant, leading to the Crimson Wing Guild's decision to disband. Juwon speculated that the guild might make a comeback with key members. Hyamin shared some positive news, revealing that guilds in the northern province were actively seeking solutions to overcome the sweltering heat. Intrigued by the prospect of treasure or special quests, they were exploring the desert region near the ruins of King Belsos. The northern province, normally known for its cold climate, was gaining attention as an exciting adventure destination due to recent events. Hyamin announced that the Undead Legion quest had been successfully completed. Lich Shire was defeated, marking the end of the Undead Legion's threat. The news brought joy to the audience, highlighting the accomplishments of the adventurers and their impact on the game world. Hyun found himself in a luxurious car, having earlier discovered that his items had fetched a high price in a bid. Subsequently, he received a call from Han Siab Kang, the director of planning at KMC Media, who won the bid. Han Siab invited Hyun to the station for a business discussion, and upon arrival, he was greeted by Han Siab. Han Siab asked about Hyun's level, citing it as a reference for their business dealings. Hyun revealed his level to be 306, surprising Han Siab and the others. While assuring Hyun that it wasn't necessary to disclose his level if he preferred privacy, Han Siab couldn't help but find it a bit unexpected. Internally, he mused about the implications, considering that Hyun might have completed the quest with a lower level than he currently possessed, making the accomplishment seem unbelievable. Han Siab inquired about Hyun's job class. Hyun hesitated briefly but eventually disclosed that he was a Moonlight sculptor. This further surprised Han Siab and others present. Han Siab expressed his astonishment. He found it difficult to believe that someone with an artist job class could successfully conquer an A-ranked quest. Han Siab commented on the increasing prominence of job classes associated with arts and production in Royal Road. Hyun agreed, highlighting the various positive outcomes achievable as a sculptor. Suddenly, Han Siab recalled an incident in the Rosenheim Kingdom where a shameless sculptor exploited labor from users, claiming the quest was to build a pyramid. The sculptor had worked users extensively, providing them with minimal food. Hyun, realizing that he was the sculptor in question, pretended not to be aware of the situation. Han Siab inquired about how long Hyun had been playing Royal Road, to which Hyun stated it had been just a little over a year. However, Han Siab and the others found this claim implausible and expressed disbelief. Hyun cut to the chase and asked about the reason for their meeting. Han Siab revealed that they wanted to form a contract with Hyun concerning the recent events related to the Orc tribe and the extermination quest of the Undead Legion. They were seeking an exclusive broadcast contract with him. In the castle of the Dark Elves, Mapan guided Pale and the others through the marketplace. As the group continued their exploration, they eventually arrived at a weapons shop. Everyone explored the weapons in the shop, with Zephyr particularly drawn to a fishing rod that cost 8,000 gold. His wealth prompted playful teasing from the others. The shopkeeper then noticed Pale's bow, suggesting that it didn't match his talent and recommending a new one for 25,000 gold. Attempting to sweet-talk the NPC for a discount, Pale imitated Weed's approach, but it proved unsuccessful. Pale ultimately spent all his money to purchase the bow. Circa tried her hand at sweet-talking the shopkeeper, complimenting her, and stating that she looked younger than her age. To everyone's surprise, this approach worked, successfully improving her connection to the NPC. Recognizing Circa's successful negotiation skills, Mapan intervened, preventing the others from interrupting. The shopkeeper, appreciative of Circa's compliments, decided to reward her. She informed Circa about Horum Mountain to the east, describing it as a challenging area with high and rough topography but offering a stunning view. The shopkeeper encouraged Circa to share her experiences after ascending Horum Mountain, promising to provide information about an amazing hunting ground in return. Han Siab and his staff celebrated successfully securing the contract with Hyun. Eager to see the content, they received the video from Hyun. The chief joined them to watch, only to find that the video was an astonishing 21 hours long. Hyun, excited by the sudden inflow of money, knew it wasn't enough, especially considering the significant expenses for Hyun's university. He headed to the hospital where both Hyun and his grandma were waiting. To his surprise, his grandma presented an acceptance letter from the University of Korea, revealing that it was for him, and not Hyun. Hyun apologized for tricking Hyun, and congratulated him on his acceptance to the University of Korea. Meanwhile, Han Siab and his team, exhausted after watching the lengthy video, discussed how to prepare it for broadcast. Ultimately, Han Siab decided to broadcast it unedited, preserving the raw and unfiltered nature of Hyun's gaming experiences. Inside the game, Hyun and the others were en route to Horum Mountains. As they encountered large footprints, the group grew nervous. Hyun, however, remained unperturbed, reflecting on the absence of strong monsters in the area. He remembered hearing about Yetis inhabiting Horum Mountain but didn't anticipate them being a problem, given his prior experience facing them. Hyun wondered about the whereabouts of Seo Yoon. With everyone eagerly enjoying the food Hyun had prepared, unaware of his later plans for a demanding hunting session. After the meal, they resumed their hunting expedition and encountered yetis. Hyun observed that these yetis were different from the ones he had faced with Soo-hyun. The monster's attacks now had a freezing effect. Despite the new challenge, Hyundo and the Swordnibs welcomed it eagerly. They skillfully evaded and parried the yeti's attacks, showcasing their combat prowess. Eventually, the group managed to overwhelm the yetis. Amidst the battle with yetis, the Swordnibs were astonished to see Waryong using her dance to charm the monsters. However, Hyundo, intrigued by her skills, stopped the Swordnibs. A yeti managed to get close to attack Waryong, prompting the Swordnibs to jump in and save her. Waryong found amusement in the situation. Continuing their journey, Waryong expressed gratitude to Hyun for the cold-resistant clothes he had made. The Swordnibs, filled with enthusiasm, rushed to climb the mountaintop. Their excitement led them to decide to shout, triggering an avalanche that swept them away. Reaching the summit, the group was surprised to find that their fame increased simply by climbing. Hyundo took the initiative to carve his name into one of the boulders, prompting the others to follow suit. Eventually, the rest of the party logged out, leaving Hyun behind to focus on his sculpting. Contemplating the natural surroundings, Hyun reflected on the increased value of a sculpture when it blended seamlessly with nature. Determined to create a masterpiece, he debated using Soo-hyun as a model but ultimately decided against it, wanting to create something different this time. His thoughts then turned to his family. After some time, Hyun completed the statue and was satisfied with Grandma and Hyun's appearance but made some adjustments to his statue. Prompted to name the sculpture, Hyun decided to call it a peaceful family, and it emerged as a grand masterpiece. Hyun appreciated that the sculpture turned out as well as he had envisioned. After Hyun logged out, Waryong entered the game and encountered the sculpture. Amazed by its artistry, she assumed it was crafted by Weed. Her attention then shifted to Hyun's statue, and she found him handsome. In a pub, Volk and Lady Darren were approached by a representative of the Cold Rose Guild who had a quest proposal for them. The representative explained that the offer for this request was restricted to those at least level 320, with a base pay of 40,000 gold and additional rewards based on the contribution to the quest. Volk, intrigued by the generous pay and the high minimum level requirement, inquired about the nature of the quest and its potential dangers. The representative revealed that the mission was to find the vanished town of Ederun, which held a clue to ending the ongoing heatwave. Additionally, the quest aimed to open up the northern continent. Arriving in Rodium, Hyun was surprised when he found himself swarmed by beggars soliciting money. Perplexed by the unusual number of beggars in the city, he devised a plan to make them leave him alone. He joined the beggars' plea, acting as if he desperately needed money. This ploy worked, and the beggars, realizing Hyun was also in dire straits, left him alone. Seating himself on the streets, Hyun reflected on the unexpected state of Rodium. He had anticipated a city brimming with artists, with musicians performing grandly in the streets. However, the reality was starkly different. Observing the struggling artists, he pondered the financial challenges associated with pursuing artistic endeavors. Hyun's thoughts shifted to his own financial struggles, particularly the exorbitant costs associated with his university admission. In the midst of Oberon's discussions about the expedition to the northern continent, a member made a suggestion regarding recruiting individuals from Rodium. The member pointed out that Rodium, known as the City of Arts, could provide valuable contributions to the expedition despite the lack of warriors or traditional adventurers. Artists and those skilled in production could offer unique advantages, such as architects constructing shelters in case of storms. Additionally, bards and dancers could play a role in relieving fatigue during the journey. The member argued that with a sufficient number of people, the collective impact of their artistic talents could be substantial. Oberon, initially skeptical, came to appreciate the strategic value of involving artists from Rodium in the expedition. Oberon approved the plan to bring them along as they passed through Rodium on their way to the northern continent. Hyun listened to the captivating song of a bard, contemplating the situation around him. Observing the abundance of bards in the city, Hyun wondered if their prevalence was due to the potential for earning money through their performances. Despite the apparent poverty in the city, he couldn't deny the inherent beauty of Rodium. Inspired by the artistic atmosphere, he decided to explore the Guild of Artists for insights into Moonlight sculpting. Recognizing the value of learning skills first, he set his sights on exploring the various guilds in the city, eager to gather knowledge and enhance his capabilities in the world of Royal Road. Before heading to the Union of Artists in Rodium, Hyun gained the skill closing one's eye tightly through persistent effort. This skill allowed him to minimize damage by closing his eyes before taking a hit. Upon reaching the Union of Artists, Hyun was warmly greeted by the staff. Eager to enroll as an artist in Rodium, he inquired about the process. The staff explained that individuals from other kingdoms seeking enrollment as artists needed to meet specific qualification requirements. Subsequently, Hyun received a quest to create a sculpture matching his level. Realizing he needed at least a masterpiece or a grand masterpiece, he accepted the quest. In the orc village, Mapan found success in his business. Nearby, a lady orc explored the town. She was none other than Sohyun's doctor, Eun-hye. Eun-hye expressed satisfaction with her orc character, emphasizing the positive impact Royal Road had on Sohyun. Despite Sohyun's tendency to prefer solitude, the game provided her with a unique opportunity to be around others. Eun-hye saw this as a promising sign, indicating that Sohyun's emotional wounds were gradually healing. With a sense of optimism, Eun-hye set out to find Sohyun within the game world. After purchasing the necessary materials for sculpting, Hyun recalled the lump of metal he had received from the orc elder. He appraised it and discovered it was a blend of mithril, black iron, and steel. Hyun decided to take it to a blacksmith's shop. Upon arrival, he requested the blacksmith to melt the lump of metal. The blacksmith, astonished by the quality of the metal, expressed interest in buying it. However, Hyun declined the offer. The sword noobs continued their hunting alongside Pale and the rest of the group. The sword noobs showcased their prowess by effortlessly defeating monsters which amazed the others. As more monsters appeared, both Hyundo and the sword noobs remained unfazed, charging ahead to confront the new challenges. Pale and the others quickly joined the fray, while Waryong thought about Hyun. Meanwhile, Hyun sought out an isolated location to focus on his blacksmithing proficiency. With careful preparation, he began working on the items needed to enhance his skills before using the mithril as a primary material. After dedicating time and effort to improving his blacksmithing skills, Hyun successfully advanced his skill to intermediate level 3. He decided it was time to use the black iron and mithril. Hyun faced some challenges but eventually crafted a noble and dignified black helmet, along with valuable light black boots. These items not only enhance defensive capabilities against physical attacks but also increase force and magic resistance, adding to his fame and prestige. A significant number of people gathered for the northern expedition, creating a situation where Oberon needed to manage the group's size. While Oberon initially wanted to limit the number of participants, the sheer volume made it challenging to decline individuals who applied through personal connections. Acknowledging the danger of the northern expedition, Oberon's subordinate explained that a previous attempt by elite adventurers had failed, providing only limited information about the North's topography. Faced with the need to gather more information and navigate unknown territories, he suggested opting to bring a larger force to increase their chances of survival and success. Oberon decided to prioritize participants from allied guilds and those located around the guild headquarters. The reasoning behind this choice was to keep a closer eye on both friends and potential adversaries. Oberon understood that without their influence, these individuals might pursue their own interests or engage in activities that could be detrimental to the expedition's success. As Hyun completed his gold sculpture, he couldn't help but shed tears when considering the substantial cost involved in its creation. Despite the emotional toll, he managed to produce a grand masterpiece, enhancing his proficiency and raising his stats. Hyun expressed a sense of achievement, and questioned the feasibility of leaving such valuable creations behind to attract attention. Opting to give life to his grand masterpiece, Hyun named it Goldman. However, when contemplating the idea of bestowing life upon Sohyun's sculpture, he hesitated, considering the potential consequences of her reaction. As the Northern Expedition group embarked on their journey, they were met with enthusiastic cheers from the hopeful citizens, anticipating a resolution to the heatwave problem. Meanwhile, Voke and Darren, enjoying a date, reminisced about the flower sculpture that Voke had used to propose to her. Eager to commission a sculpture representing their bond, they searched for the sculptor who created the flowers but was unable to find him. Their attention turned to Hyun, who was selling his items nearby. However, Volk was skeptical, as Hyun didn't fit his preconceived image of a sculptor and assumed him to be a blacksmith. Upon returning to the Artists' Guild after selling his products, Hyun was warmly greeted by the members who had heard about his remarkable sculpture. However, the atmosphere took an unexpected turn as the staff members expressed their frustration about Rodium's current impoverished state. They shared the belief that the town needed a talented artist to become its owner and lead them to prosperity. The staff appealed to Hyun, addressing him as a young artist with outstanding talent, and urged him to become the owner of Rodium. Hyun, after considering the proposal to become the owner of Rodium and realizing the potential financial burden, politely declined the offer. Instead, he inquired about the art of moonlight sculpting, hoping to gather information from the Artists' Guild in Rodium. The staff suggested that he seek information about moonlight sculpting from other artists' guilds around Rodium and visit a sculptor's guild to find the answers he desired. With this guidance, Hyun set his sights on learning more about the elusive art of moonlight sculpting. Oberon and his members were busy preparing for the northern expedition, with 160 people from Rodium newly recruited to join the adventure. The member informed Oberon about challengers causing a stir in the continent of Versailles, seeking stronger opponents. A few of these challengers had joined the expedition. Oberon expresses excitement about meeting them and orders to send the advance party. At the Bard Guild, Hyun, seeking information on moonlight sculpting, approaches a woman playing the harp and assumes her to be the advisor. The advisor hesitates, questioning why she should share information within their guild. Undeterred, Hyun attempts to build a connection by complimenting her beauty, but it doesn't work and shifts to admiring her callous fingers, highlighting their dedication to playing the harp, and shares his own callous hands. The advisor agrees to share information about moonlight sculpting if Hyun listens to her song. After the impressive performance, Hyun, along with others, praises the song. The advisor offers to sell him the harp as a commemoration, promising more information if he buys it. Despite reluctance, Hyun purchases the harp, only to discover later that it isn't as special as he had anticipated. After learning about moonlight sculpting, Hyun reflects on the advisor's words. She mentions seeing moonlight sculptures in the past and describes how the completed sculptures shine buried. Frustrated by the vague information, Hyun decides to gather more clues by exploring other guilds, feeling unsatisfied with the limited details provided. Hyun visits various guilds, spending money at the hairdresser, dancer, perfume, calligraphy, and appraisal guilds in his quest for information on moonlight sculpting. However, he realizes his funds are depleting rapidly. At the Painters Guild, the advisor recognizes Hyun's skill and agrees to share information but imposes a condition unrelated to money. The condition involves a past duel between a painter and sculptor to portray a lion lifelike, each using their respective medium, painting, and sculpting. The liveliness in both the painting and sculpture is emphasized by the advisor. The advisor questions Hyun about who won the duel between the sculptor and the painter. Initially thinking the sculptor won, Hyun notices the advisor's hands. Realizing the advisor was both the sculptor and the painter, Hyun points out the calluses on both hands, indicating proficiency in both crafts. The advisor acknowledges the astute observation and reveals that the duel couldn't be a genuine competition in the first place. The advisor explains that in the past, sculptors would also draw, and painters would also sculpt, emphasizing that the two arts were not separate. Despite the difference in portrayal methods, they coexisted. The advisor offers to sell a deer drawing for 1,500 gold to Hyun, who reluctantly pays for it. Continuing the story, the advisor highlights the connection between sculpture, nature, and the environment. They discuss the impact of light on sculpture, describing the wonder of moonlight sculpting as the ability to freely conduct and manipulate light within the artwork. Hyun receives a message indicating he has gathered all the information on moonlight sculpting. Upon arriving at the Sculptors Guild, he observes many players aspiring to become sculptors, despite the apparent lack of financial gain in the profession. Frustrated by the depletion of his funds during the quest, Hyun is determined to master the art of moonlight sculpting to justify his investment. Eager to learn about moonlight sculpting, Hyun seeks out the most exceptional sculptor in Rodium. Despite initially being ignored, he captures the sculptor's attention by inquiring about the ongoing creation of a bull. The sculptor challenges the notion that sculpting should be limited to creating human figures or traditional works of art, prompting Hyun to agree. Hyun emphasizes that sculpting is not just an art form but also a means of providing people with the things they need. The sculptor, recognizing Hyun's affinity for sculpting, invites him to sit and share a conversation. When asked about Moonlight sculpting, the sculptor describes it as reaching the pinnacle of the art, a skill involving finding light within a sculpture, a rare and challenging form. To learn Moonlight sculpting, the sculptor gives Hyun a final task: sculpt an ore into a piece that holds personal significance. Hyun receives the quest to sculpt a tough ore. The advisor emphasizes the difficulty of the task, stating that hundreds or thousands of sculpting blades could become dull in the process. The key to mastering Moonlight sculpting lies in understanding one's goals, creating a personal light, and ultimately grasping the true essence of the art. In the midst of a battle against a giant snake, Pale, Ramuna, Zephyr, Circa, and Irene face challenges, the snake releasing a poison fog. Hyun arrives just in time to save Irene from a monster attack. The sword noobs also join the fight, preventing the monster from escaping. Hyun intervenes again to save Waryong, and with the combined efforts of the group, Circa delivers a powerful blow to the snake's head, ultimately defeating it. Hyamin arrives, expressing joy at seeing Pale again, while the sword noobs envy the couple. Pale suggests to Hyamin that they watch a classical show outside the game, and Circa proposes that everyone meet in real life. Waryong asks if Weed will come, and Hyun hesitates. Waryong, along with others, refuses to attend without Weed. Ilhun and the sword noobs attempt to persuade Hyun, offering to pay for the ticket and food. Hearing this, Hyun immediately agrees, much to the frustration of Hyamin and Pale, as their date plans seem to be disrupted. Hyun suggests a plan to crush and clear a dungeon in the 3 days leading up to the meeting. He proposes using the 8 days in Royal Road time, excluding the actual day, to thoroughly explore and hunt monsters. Waryong and Zephyr react with terror, recalling their past hunting experiences with Hyun. Hyun's group encounters numerous monsters in the dungeon, with Circa enjoying the battle. They easily defeat the monsters along with the sword noobs. Hyun takes out Talrok's armor, earning compliments from Waryong. Hyun then joins the battle, facing the monsters. Meanwhile, Eun-hye arrives at the same dungeon with Soo-hyun, who is wearing a helmet. Eun-hye assumed that by covering her face, Soo-hyun could avoid undue attention and gradually become friendly with others. After the exhausting battle, Circa and the others want to rest, but Hyun uses his bandage skills to heal them and asks Pale to lure more monsters. While treating Waryong, Hyun recalls a moment when he cared for his sister Hyein, expressing relief that she grew up well. Reflecting on the importance of family, he remembers his quest to sculpt the most precious thing to him. He contemplates the significance of meetings between people, first as a coincidence, then by necessity, and finally as fate, as he notices Soo-hyun arrive. Like and subscribe if you want me to continue the next chapters, and thank you for watching.